this might seem a little self-absorbed, but I make a lot of guitar videos, and like a guitar nut myself. I've seen Billy Corgan's rig run down, about 28 times. But I was a bit self-absorbed. I thought I might tell you about my guitar setup. I do feel very self-absorbed. Sorry. So yeah, this is like for solid state amps that were released. These are all crappy things. You can get these for 50 quid. I have another one of these and I got it for like 50 quid. Johnny Greenwood used these kind of crappy original Fender amps. I had a dream where he told me I could get a studio version. He's like, oh, you can get a studio version of one of those. Anyway, so I did. So you think like guys like Larry Laron, and they talk about like distortions in the amp, and a lot of people saying like amps have to do their job. The great thing about this amp is like, oh no, we're not dead. I thought we did. I hate mids. First of all, I'm very like Mick Thompson from Slipknot. We use a very no mids, scooped kind of thing. Never liked mids, and it's got a mid scoop. So what I hate about amps usually is like I only pay for this part, and I wouldn't use any of that. These are two different channels. So this is like channel 1, this is channel 2, and because I use pedals, which like Larry Laron and stuff wouldn't, they let the amp kind of get the real distortion and the real drive, which is a good place for it. But this actually has dual amp. It's really cool. I can use both the channels at the same time, so I love this amp. I can use all these knobs and get my money's worth. All these knobs. It's a one amp stage, 185. But I've always found that your amp is like a car. A car engine has four. I never did engineering. I really regret having to learn French. I'm not doing engineering, but I heard it's got a compression stage and a powery stage, and then another stage and another stage. There's 4 stages in an engine. And I realised these are kind of in an amp. Electrical engineering is kind of similar to, industrial engineering or whatever the other type of engineering is. Electrical engineering is very similar. So there's a compression stage and a power stage, a power amp stage. And you can put pedals in the back, actually. I don't know, I don't want to be talking ahead of people, but I have my looper pedal in the back of my amp. I would put a delay maybe in the back of the amp as well. I have it in the chain for a reason. But you want less pedals, basically. More pedals and more things are just more conductivity and more signal loss and more loss and loss and loss. People use buffers to stabilize their electrical currents and stuff to try and buffer everything, but there's different ways of getting around it. I used to be everybody had terrible mistakes when they were kids or younger, and I used to have like a massive chain of pedals. Like, I see some people with like a big long chain of pedals. Now Boss pedals are okay kind of to put in a big lost chain of pedals because they have like a master, I know what it's called. They have a Boss pedals have this thing, an electrical stabilizer kind of thing in their pedals. So if you only use Boss pedals, like a very reliable live studio, you see a lot of people using Boss pedals because of the electrical stability. And if you're using all the same pedals, they'll kind of work well. Thing about like cool, like guitarists like Billy Corgan and everybody, you want to use lots of different weird pedals, and they have lots of very different weird methods of being powered. Yeah, this originally came with chewing gum holding it together from America. So just like in engines, like in Larry Laron, okay, so amps have this 4-part section. So you have this in an amp, and some people like to use even their delays and stuff in the amp and just use the amp itself. And even Billy will say just like direct to the amp and let the amp do its job. The amp does its job, and it's a 4-part thing. And if you have pedals in front of this amp, what I've noticed is you want to also have an equal 4-part system, because you're mimicking what the amp does in a controllable environment. So you have a controller environment and you're mimicking it and putting it in front of the amp, where most people like to use the amp. Like you see loads of people like to use the delays in the amp, or I can't remember. God, Malmsteen, Ingve Malmsteen likes to use those kind of like inbuilt into the amp pedals and integrated into an amp. And then it kind of became a cliche thing of having amps like katanas and stuff that had in amp modeling. So it's in the amp. It's between the compression sections and the power amps. There's different phases, and that's why you can put pedals in between these phases. To be very clear and loud and boisterous and come through a lot, instead of putting it's being a bit technical. Sorry. So anyway, I have, what did I say about a big long chain? I tried to bypass this with this, but you still need to have certain sections. So I, exactly like the motor engine thing, I go compressor and then power. So there's a compression page and then there's a power page. I'm a mad compressor nut, as you can see, you know what I mean? The Super Comp there and the Black Finger. I love them, you know what I mean? But I got this Chinese CKK for 30-40 euro, and it's the greatest thing. They actually kind of balance nicely like this. They've got like a royal fuzz and some kind of delay pedal, but this thing is amazing. I don't know, like as far as compressor technologies, and everyone makes a different compressor. You have another one over there somewhere. This thing is just amazing. This Chinese CKK. It's called the Gears, and it's amazing. It's got that. You can turn it up and down, you know, and then it's got a. You know, I know we lost power. No, we're still there. So I got a compression phase anyway, and this is a cheap little compressor. And then you shouldn't use these. These are actually terrible. These do break your pedals. These kind of things, but it's very short and direct, so you're losing less cable and again less electricity. And the note of that, curly cables really do help sound. I know, like you get a Hendrix curly cable, it's very electrical friendly. I always notice curling they say like use a short cable, but if it's not short, make it curly. Let it curl up, and it actually increases the sound. I don't know if it's like a Hadron Collider and it speeds up or something, you know what I mean? But it works better than curly. So then I go into a power amp. So you have the compression stage and then the power stage. So I have a power amp, a preamp, which is weird. So this is what no guitarist really notices and cares for. Is like, why do I need that when I can just turn up the volume on my amp? You need power, so you can get this power in the cable at some point, and some people get live pickups, and so they have like power in the pickups. So the power amp is originally in the pickup. The pickups, excuse me, I should explain what things are. Some people have electric ones of these. These are very passive and just magnets, but some people have like electrically charged magnets. So there's different ways and positions to put a power amp. You can have a pre-power amp and then a post-power amp as well. I got this thing to be a post-power amp. It's like a DI box, or it's like you'd use it for microphone stuff if you were like a singer-songwriter kind of thing. There's lots of different things using it, but it sorts out some electrical problems again, like buffering and inversing electrical currents, so they work more smoothly. It's just like a weird. Instead, you don't plug directly into things. You usually want something in between, something to stabilize and balance, and again deal with the electrical currents and manage it, and things don't blow up as much. And it's got a valve, and it's got a valve tone as well. So you use these basically, just always kind of two volumes, just like a gain and an output, a gain and a master, and you can manipulate these between. You can have a really low gain and a really high output, or a really high output and a really low gain, and balance them and really work between them. Like you see, Billy Corgan says that himself, that he used it on his amp to have a really low on one side and really big on the other side, whichever way he was working it. I don't use this just because, again, it's more technical and electrical possibilities to go wrong, so I don't even use this. I would like a post preamp before it hits the amp. There's a few different things I've looked into, there's a lot of cool ideas, but there's just too many problems. It's just one more problem. And no, we're losing it. No, we haven't lost it yet. So I've got a compression stage which makes a shape. You want to make the shape first, and then you want to amplify the shape. If you amplify it, you have to think about these very carefully with pedals, about like you're feeding this into this. So if you're feeding a phaser into, say, distortions are like fire. So if you're putting a phaser, which is wobbly, into a fire, you get like a wobble within a fire. But if you put a fire into a wobble, you get a very fiery wobble. Like you get a wobble full of fire instead of a fire full of wobble. So you have to think about in sequence which way it goes from right to left. Some people think about it backwards, it's weird. So I do a shape, I make it, compressor makes my shape. This doesn't turn off. These two are always on nowadays, the way I play. are always on, so I always have this compressor on. I wouldn't use these compressors on all the time. I use this compressor once again. It's from China, all the time. Just never. It even compresses tone in a way, so I can use the tone pickups on the tone knobs on my Strat, and they transpire very well when this is on. Giggity's Voodoo Lamp. It's an American thing. It's cool. You know, got things like it. Loudness is great. I love this knob. And yeah, just shaping the sound, body, air, master. So you know these aren't EQ based or anything. These are the like shape of the power really. This is a cool like tone, like not tone, but like a dull to bright. And I've noticed, just to let you know a little secret about one of these, it's got these little Hendrixy in between points. So you have 4 options, and there's a few options in between. And if you get these in between bites and you leave it rest in between, oh man, it's like it bypasses something like a compression stage or a preamp or something, and it's just, oh, it's amazing. It's too good, you know what I mean? It's just too good to be true. So you can get it mid bite if you let the Voodoo Giggity in between, get it right in between and just leave it there. You notice, so there's technically 7 stages you can use here, and they are too good to be true, you know what I mean? So I just leave it like that, because you can't have too much of a good thing. So in an effort to stop having so many pedals in a line or sequence, I got this, which is a controller, so technically I only use 3 pedals. So I got this guy, and this guy. Again, I would have a post phase, so that's the 4th part of the engine. I don't have a 4th part. It's just a 3-cylinder engine, basically. So I got this, so this is just technically 1 pedal, which you can put lots of different pedals into. And it has a buffer in it as well, so that's kind of good. So this is just technically 1 pedal in the face, rather than having a big silly line and chain of pedals. So I got a multi-controller. And I have nothing really in it. I haven't got much going on at the moment. I just have, this is a bass octave, double octave down. It's weird. It's better than I thought it would be. It's alright. I don't like having a phaser. I wouldn't have a phaser else. I play Smashing Pumpkins. So the second Saviors 2, Billy was advised maybe by Tony Iommi or someone to use old phasers. This is the one Billy uses because it's kind of cool. It's got some tricks, but I've noted the fall and the rise and cool are really cool steps. And you've used a step one, you can really play some solos really cool if you tune it in well. This is a bit rougher and rawer. It's got, you know, I don't want to talk about phasers too much because I don't even like phasers. Again, I just have phasers because the boxy Smashing Pumpkins. And yeah, so you can arrange your pedals. Basically, you put them in and you can mix them up, and you can choose like these 3 on and these 3 on very easily, and you can switch between them. So this is a place for color, basically, a bit of color, like, and again an octave, or I could use like that one there instead of that. That's a bit. I like that one. It's alright. Cool. It's one of my oldest ones. A fuzz pedal, so if I had my way, I'd just have lots of distortion here, basically, and an octave, or I would just have lots of different distortions. I'm just not rocking, it's a bit streamlined, and a delay at the end, so, you know, delay in phase or something, and fuzz and octave, and you can rearrange them in different ways, and again, this is just